This leads us to the four pillars of computational thinking as illustrated here: decomposition, pattern recognition, abstraction or data representation, and finally algorithms. Computational thinking is part of the problem solving process that ends with writing a program. But before we do that, we have to uh, know how to approach the problem and how to develop a solution and what the computer is capable of. The first pillar is decomposition. It's the process of breaking a complex problem into more manageable subproblems. Although solving the complex problem as a whole may seem very difficult, the solution to each subproblem may be much simpler. Well, but by putting together the solutions to subproblems, we can arrive at a solution to the original, more complex problem. To explain this, I take the example of preparing strategic KPI report for the board of directors of the bank I work for. It's a complex and daunting task. As the first step of approaching the problem, I recognize decomposition of the problem into subproblem areas, which are data collection, report preparation, and finally the verification and authorization. However, each of these subproblems are still complex and should be further decomposed. The second pillar of computational thinking is pattern recognition. When we decompose the problem, we frequently find patterns among the subproblems, similarities or shared characteristics. Discovering these patterns make the complex problem easier to solve since we can use the same solution for each occurrence of the pattern. In programming, this leads to the opportunity to generalize an algorithm to solve many different problems. In my example of KPI report, although the list of KPIs belong to few different and major strategic blocks or different departments, the process of publishing each KPI is same, so it can be repeated for all the KPIs of my report. So this pattern starts from identifying the providers, then obtaining the data and preparing my analysis, afterwards obtaining remarks from accountable personnel or departments for the performance of data, and finally publishing the report. The third pillar is abstraction, which is also the data representation. This involves determining what characteristics of the problem are important and filtering out those that are not. From this, we can create a representation of what we are trying to solve. In my same example, as data for each strategic KPI, what we receive is a big report. What we require is only final performance data for the concerned period and the result for the same period last year. And we filter out all the other data. The fourth pillar of computational thinking is algorithms, which is the final pillar. An algorithm is a set of step-by-step instructions of how to solve a problem. It identifies what is to be done, means the instructions, and the order in which they should be done. An algorithm is the starting point for writing a computer program and is often expressed at a high level using pseudocode or flowchart. Instructions are often expressed as something humans understand rather than something a computer would understand. So therefore, when writing a program, we have decompose and translate these human instructions into sequences of computer instructions.